Welcome back, Tribe. Have an episode here from Happy Wife School. Some guy asked her a question. When is it okay to step out of a marriage if you're in a sexless marriage and your wife doesn't put out anymore? And she has a title, As a Good Man, Would You Cheat Under These Circumstances?
How long does a man have to tolerate being told no before he's allowed to look for sex elsewhere? So obviously in this question, this man is asking if a wife is withholding sex and a man is in a sexless marriage, how long before he can look for it elsewhere? The bigger issue.
I have a question for men. What's your number on this? How many months, for some of you, how many years would you stay? And for those that do give a number, pause a second and think about this. If you were to lose your job or your income, how much time should you be granted by your wife until she leaves and can find a better provider? Kind of interesting. Interesting little thought experiment.
Issue in this question is really one of values and morals. But to entertain the argument in this question for just a moment, and then we'll talk about morals and values. If a wife says to her husband, I don't want to have sex with you, and or a wife is withholding sex and a man is in a sexless marriage, which until I started the channel, and the men that write into me and the men that I speak with, and even the women I speak with who admit to being shut down to sex, it is so much more than I ever could have imagined. But when a wife says, I don't want to have sex with you and is withholding sex, it's logical and reasonable that a man going outside a marriage is a consequence for having sex withheld from him. It's a logical and reasonable argument because the wife is denying a fundamental part of marriage and what's important to a man. And in a logical society, a man should be able to go outside the marriage when he's being withheld the very thing that is a foundational piece to a healthy marriage and what is important to him and what he was led to believe would be a part of the marriage. And there are some cultures where women will say, go ahead, get a girlfriend or a mistress, because then it takes the burden off of me. But our society does not accept or want to know and understand that women consciously withhold sex and weaponize sex. Our culture and society does not want to know and is led to believe otherwise, that a woman consciously withholds sex and consciously weaponizes sex against men. Because we live in a women-centered society, or another word for that is gynocentric, our society believes that if a woman is withholding sex or is shut down to sex, that it must be something the man is doing, that she doesn't want sex and the man is the problem. And part of how we have created that gynocentric culture is as women living in our victim stories of what our husbands have done to us or why they're the reason that we don't want to engage in sex. We pull everyone into those stories and no one questions it. Not to mention
the female covert contracts that society has that are being instituted to keep the double standards that give supremacy to women. That's one of the many. Just automatically believe them, automatically give them the kids, automatically the man's at fault, automatically he did something wrong, automatically. Because back in the 1920s, these actually made sense when there were ladies and gentlemen walking around, and the gentlemen had most of the power. The ladies didn't really work much, okay? Yet we're still supposed to treat them like they're 1920s ladies when they're 2025 street queens. And they're taking full advantage of those double standards to have way better outcomes in everything. Work, arguments, relationships, marriages, whatever it is, you call it. And anything that approaches real equality is considered for them tyranny and oppression.
Mention that we provoke our husbands to react in ways that we can point the finger out and see how he talks to me, see what he did to me. And then a good man buys into that gaslighting and says, I did do those things. I must be the problem. And that's the trap and matrix they live in. And then society perpetuates that with things like the Me Too movement and grouping all men into that. Are there men who abuse their power? Yes. But it's certainly not the majority. It's a very small percentage. And then we buy into things like #BelieveAllWomen. And that's the society that we live in. So no one wants to know and understand how a woman can weaponize sex and withhold sex from a man in a marriage and the grave consequences that has on him. So to me, it's a very reasonable and logical argument that a man should be able to go outside his marriage and that makes sense. However, there is a morals and values side. And that good men have morals. They have values that are very important to them. As women, we don't have values and morals within our marriage.
Damn.
And we can know that because we feel entitled to leave and go search for our happiness elsewhere with no basis of argument to really go do that when we're married to a good man.
Whoa!
But a good man does have morals and values.
Slow it
down. He also often has religious values and morals.
And you see, this is why I said all the degeneracy in society today, I'm not saying it's a man's fault, but what I'm saying is how society has made it so that the man is no longer present in the home. They socially engineered this to happen. The social decay, the homelessness, the crime rates, the drug addiction and chemical addiction to pharmacology, how obese and out of shape people are, the weak mentalities that we're churning, the latest generations, look at them, snowflakes, all this shit, all of this. Man, it's like a giant funnel that comes down. And you know what's at the very bottom here? Father. All these issues are coming from fatherhood, not being present in the home, the nuclear family destroyed, no daddy present. Ask all these kids or these people that are in these precarious situations in life, and they'll say, I don't have a good relationship with my father, or I don't even know my father, never met my father. My father's not present in my life. My father, the one that institutes boundaries, rules, and hierarchies and consequences in the home and enforces them, because a mother can do the same, but she rarely enforces them the way a father would. She doesn't have the same kind of authority and fear inspired by a man. The house is not in order without a man, and that stems into you and the rest of your behaviors into your adulthood. Fuck, man. It's so crazy. The father is the single most important. They gaslit us to toast the moms. Moms are so important. Moms mean everything. Turns out when you remove the dad from the home, society starts to crumble. Turns out when you emasculate your boys, all the covert contracts, everything that's held up society, all the goodwill of the people, love thy brother, all this stuff starts to decline because women don't have the same duties a man does. Not just in the marriage. She said it out loud. In the marriage, women have basically like no duties in the marriage. They just like, whimsical, entitled. Women are entitled to things. It's men that create and maintain order in society. Men build, women move in. It's true. It really is.
And a structure within that guiding him. And the reality is a good man generally won't go outside the marriage, because if he did, he would feel guilty and bad about himself because he knows he's going against his own morals and values. And good men tend to have very high values and very high morals. So when he goes outside the marriage, he actually has remorse and then doesn't feel good about himself because he wasn't true to himself and his own values and morals.
True.
So the argument stands that a good man should, it's logical and reasonable that if he's being withheld sex, that he go outside the marriage. However, again, the morals and values side of it is something a good man has to consider, and most good men won't go outside the marriage, or if they do, live in an inner turmoil of remorse and regret for their decision because they weren't true to themselves. And then not to mention what else I talk about, that it's part of a woman's strategy to get her husband to cheat and go outside the marriage and push him to that point so that he does the unthinkable and the worst betrayal he could do to her, so that she has that as the ammo and weapon that she can use against him of why the marriage didn't work, or why now she's entitled to do whatever she wants because he went outside the marriage. Hello again.
Jesus. She's good. She doesn't hold back. Succinctly put, the marriage counselor said to my ex, if he pleases you in the bedroom and you enjoy it, then what is the problem? She could not answer because it was all about control and cruelty. Withholding is a rejection of the spouse. It screams, I reject you. This cuts deeply. A good man has morals and values, but he also has a breaking point. Oh, look at these comments, man. I was in a sexless marriage for 10 of the 15 years I was married. I cannot believe Can you imagine 10 years and not getting any, and then you have a ring on your finger? Oh my Lord. I never thought I would have an affair until I did. I had a number of opportunities and denied them, even after she told me she wouldn't care if she never had sex again. Finally, after years of being rejected, I met another woman who desired me. I have now been with that woman for 12 years and we have 3 kids together. We still have a good sex life. You see, raw, real attraction. Even more, we show each other gratitude and appreciation. They say, once a cheater, always a cheater. But that is not true. I have no desire for any other woman than the one I have built a rewarding life with. Wow. Men marry for monogamy, not for celibacy. A contract that only holds one side accountable isn't a partnership, it's a robbery. This guy said, a year into the marriage, she said this. I think having sex more than once a week is putting too much emphasis on the physical part of our relationship. And if we do have sex more than once a week, I'll do it, but only out of marital obligation. Oh, can you imagine your woman telling you some shit like that when she was a fucking sex kitten the moment you met and jumping up and down your meat stick daily? Honey, gooing out nonstop. Then it's dry as a Sahara, talking about one time a week, or this is basically too physical for me. What? My mother and sisters are the same way about sex, and their husbands don't complain. Oh my, this was a total lie. 6 months in, we were already down to sex 2 to 3 times a month. I'm a reasonable, caring, understanding man. I jumped through every hoop I thought would help. I also didn't marry her mother or her sisters. With that level of hostility, so early on, I decided I wasn't going to control or force anyone to do anything they don't like or want to do. I served her very shortly after. Listen, this red flag right here. As you're hearing these men talk, you should see the red flags. I also didn't marry her mother or her sisters. Okay, my mother and her sisters are the same way, the woman told him. Before you marry, you've met the family most likely, I would assume. You've gotten to see the relationships of those sisters and their men, and the way the mother interacts with the father and how those relationships are. And you would have gotten an accurate bead on what your life is going to look like very shortly after you get married to this kind of woman. This is why I tell you guys, do not be afraid to meet the family ASAP, bro. If you think you have a potential, a good one, you have a nice prospect on your hands, push to meet the family ASAP. This whole notion, I think this is a fucking psyop by the globalists. Okay, they tell you, like, be afraid of the father, be very scared when you meet the dog, try to avoid the Why? So you could get less information, so you could know your woman less, so you can walk into a fucking marriage like this, blinders on, and get absolutely wrecked. Now, I want to meet I want to sit down, I want to shake his hand, I want to speak to him, I want to see what kind of man he is. Is he a little wimpy bitch? Does he shake my hand like a fucking noodle? Does his wife, like, command him around the house, tell him to go get shit? Can we sit down and have an uninterrupted conversation where the wife and my woman are off to the side letting us speak? I want to see how you lead your household, because you taught your daughter how to treat men, and if you didn't teach her right, she's going to treat me the same way. They're on blast, bro. They should be nervous. I'm taking her off your fucking hands. She's costing you money. It is the fucking truth. That's how men need to look at this, dude. The whole trope of, like, daddy with a shotgun on the wall, man, come here, let me meet this boyfriend of yours. Shut the fuck up, old man. You better have shit right, or your daughter's getting pumped and dumb. I'm out. I'm moving on. It's that simple. Like, you literally hold your daughter's future in your hand, both present with me and literally how you raised her for the eternity of her life. That, like, this shit's crazy. Never, ever, ever fear the father, bro. Ever. Ever. That fucking psyop trope is dead or should die. Dude, every woman I thought was a prospect, I met their fathers. I couldn't wait to see, is this motherfucker, did he take care of his body? Does he look like he has a beer gut? Is he out of shape? Does he have all feminine ass fucking personality? The way he walks around, the way he acts with his wife. Is he a little fucking happy wife, happy life simp? I couldn't wait to see that shit. Dude, that's the best vetting you will get more information out of meeting the parents and the family in, like, one fucking meeting than you would dating this woman for, like, 6 months. It's such a shortcut. It's great. Look at this dude. He says, I remember trying to cuddle for years, just cuddling, and being pushed away or repulsing her or reacting negatively. Last time we were intimate, she muttered, just get over it, or just get it over with. And I lost all desire. She had said the whole point is for you to finish, and she couldn't see it was the fact that she really just had no desire for me. I slept on the couch out of my own accord for 8 months until the lease was up and left. I wandered off the reservation not long after that night. It's something I'll never forget. This guy says, a dog that's well fed at home never strays. Ooh-wee. Anyways, thoughts on this topic, boys? It's a very interesting one. Certainly. Let's see what some people write in the comments. If she doesn't put out one day, I'm out. Calm down, dude. Calm down. Calm down. Take care of yourselves.